Good evening, my beautiful manifestation queens. I am really going out on a limb here today, trying to be innovative and creative. Going live on Facebook, as well as I launched a Zoom meeting to be interactive. So if you want to be interactive, hi, thank you for joining. Whoever just joined, there is a link on our page to join on Zoom if you would like to have a more interactive experience today. So I'm live on Zoom and I'm going live here on Facebook so that anyone who comes back to the page later and watches it, they can just do hashtag replay and watch it at their leisure. So I'm going to give it just a few minutes before I go into it. Hi, Carrie. I have a link on the page if you would like to join us on Zoom for a more interactive experience where you can actually ask questions and hear my voice, see my face, I can hear your voice type of thing. Otherwise, I am going to also be live on Facebook for our group. I'll give it another minute or so before I get started. But today is day 15, and I typically go live for this particular day because it's such a heavy one. Magically heal relationships. This one typically impacts everybody who is on this journey and doing this practice as far as healing relationships. So that's why I make it a point to go live for this particular one. It's a lot to cover. So I would say that if you have made it up to day 15 and you are really starting to feel the magic and you are applying gratitude to your life, you can see how gratitude really does remedy a lot of issues, right? So I'll just go ahead and get started. I want to first welcome everybody. Yes, I'm in my normal place on my throne in my room. This is my favorite spot. One day I'll get more professional, but I have such an intimate, close following, and I just try to I'm just me, authentic, transparent, all that good stuff. So, hair, nails, makeup, what you see is what you get. And each day it could be something a little different. But today, here I am, especially since the pandemic. So commando, all natural, in my bed, talking to you. So I would say grab your favorite drink, snuggle up, and let's get ready to do this. I do see I have a few people on. I want to share with you that I have a link on the page, on the Magic of Gratitude page, that you can join me on Zoom for a more interactive experience. If you would like to be able to ask questions and get your questions answered right there on the spot, interacting with me, you are welcome to join on Zoom as well. We are on day 15, magically heal relationships. So the first thing that I want to say when it comes to magically healing relationships, the stuff I'm going to talk about, it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be warm and fuzzy and all that. It's really going to cause you to think. It's going to give you some action items and some responsibilities about relationships that are broken. Now, there are many times in relationships where there is tension, there's strife, there's toxicity, a lot of negative things. There could be domestic abuse, emotional and physical abuse, things of this nature. None of those are anything that need to be overlooked, and you don't need to be looking to yourself as far as, what did I do? You do need to ask those questions, but the first thing to do is to get to safety. Okay, that is the first thing to do as far as those type of broken relationships. We don't realize that sometimes we are in broken relationships and we're in the relationship and it's broken, damaged, or severely toxic. And, especially where there's violence and domestic violence and emotional and physical abuse and things of that nature, this would cause for removal, extraction, get out of the situation. Don't pass go. Don't pray about it. Don't think about it. Get to safety and maybe try to work on what the root cause is and what is causing the problem at a later time. But the key to that situation is get yourself to safety. It is my experience, my personal experience, that these situations begin to get worse and increase in frequency and in intensity when you do not get out. Okay. So I will say that about those type of relationships. Then you have relationships where people outgrow each other, where they're not seeing eye to eye, where values and worldview begins to change, and it can cause a rift in relationships. You have relationships where somebody might be going through something and the other person's life at that time is coming up roses, and they're living their best life, and they're your friend and you're close, but maybe they can't relate to what you're going through, or maybe you can't relate to what they are going through. And this causes tension, and this causes separation in relationships as well. So, I'm not sure on today which relationship needs to be healed on your end, or whether it's with a spouse, whether it's with children, whether it's estranged parents, whether it's childhood friends, cousins, aunts, uncles, any type of relationship, a relationship at work, the relationship between you and your boss, the relationship between you and your subordinates. All of these relationships are covered under this umbrella of magically healing your relationships. So what I want you to do right now is focus on the relationship that you most would like to heal. Just take a minute. We have relationships with all the categories that I named, but as I'm speaking to you, maybe some particular relationship immediately comes to mind, a strained or broken or toxic relationship. Something or someone, a situation or a person has come to mind that is grieving you, causing you stress, causing you angst, frustration, causing you to be angry a lot, causing you to be out of character a lot, causing you to not present as your authentic self because of the strain and the weight of this relationship. So keep that in mind and choose that person, choose that relationship. Now, some of the things I want to share with you with regards to these relationships that require healing is, first of all, we understand that the relationship is broken. Let's assume right now that someone has done something to you and they're at fault, and you honestly have searched your heart and you have accepted the responsibility for the role that you played in the breakdown of the relationship. You have apologized sincerely for your part, and you're good. And they won't accept the apology, or they still want to play the victim and the blame game and all of that. And they're just very resistant to healing and working through the relationship. Maybe it's a situation where someone is upset with you, and maybe you need to apologize, or you need to swallow your pride, or you need to fall on the sword, or you need to humble yourself. So I want you to be thinking about all of that when we talk about healing relationships. The majority of the people that are in this group, I'm not even sure that we have any males in the group, so I'm going to address this as if we're talking to women. We are emotional creatures. We also are hormonal creatures. We also are in tune to the lunar cycles, okay? They don't call it Luna crazy for nothing, okay? So we have moods. We have days where we ain't feeling it. We have days where we're feeling some kind of way, right? And sometimes we say things, or we take actions, or we do things in a knee-jerk response that isn't necessarily coming from the heart. It's just somebody else pops the whole can of whoop ass that really belongs to somebody else, right? So when I talk about that, think about whether you have hurt or offended someone as well when it comes to healing relationships. So the first thing is, the enemy is in a me. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. If you've ever followed me or watched my videos or hear me talk about different topics. This comes up a lot about oppression and things of that nature. So the enemy is in a me. What do I mean by that? The first enemy is in you. That means the bitterness, the resentment, the contention, the frustration, the anger, the wrath, all of those emotions that are housed within me, I'm responsible for. Yes, I am responding to an external situation. I'm responding to being mistreated, betrayed, taken advantage of, hurt, physically, emotionally, all of those things. Those things are real. Those things did happen. But your response is what's determining the outcome of your well-being. Okay? So when I say the enemy is in a me, I'm talking now about your response, your internal response to the external condition, the external person. So keep that in mind. Secondly, the issue is you. What do I mean by that? It's you. The internal response will determine the outcome. How you handle, how you respond, how you hold on to, how you release what has been done to you. Only you are responsible for that. So again, the issue is you. Yes, you have legitimate reasons for being angry, for being upset, for being frustrated, for being sad, all of these things. But when you continue to hold on to them, you're basically pressing play each and every day and rewind. And you're experiencing the same event over and over and over again each and every day. That's why I say the issue is you. And let's learn how to clear that out. Thirdly, I want to talk about forgiveness and how forgiveness frees you. It does not negate, forgive, or excuse the person or the act that was committed against you. Your forgiveness does not do that. But what it does, it frees you. When someone does something and you are angry, frustrated, bitter, unforgiving, all of those things, again, think about all of that emotion that is bound up and stored on the inside of you. Think about the stress that's causing you. Think about the chemical imbalance that's causing you. Think about the time and the energy that you are giving to that situation. And it's consuming you. You are consumed with frustration. You are consumed with guilt. You are consumed with anger. You are consumed with unforgiveness. Like, all of these different things are going on the inside of you. Hi, Kirsten. Kirsten just joined on Zoom. So I do have someone live on Zoom. And we may be able to take this offline and talk in more detail. So Kirsten, thank you for joining. And so if you have any questions or anything that you want to bring to the forefront, there may be something on there where you can raise your hand or just speak out and say, hey, you want to elaborate. So I'm also live on Facebook too. But I created this group so that we could, this is a pretty tough topic. And so I like to make myself available for more interaction with this particular day. So as I was saying, the enemy is in me, the issue is you, and forgiveness frees you. And then the last thing is, well, it ain't the last thing, but we hear that prayer changes things. I know you all have heard that. Prayer changes things. Prayer changes things. Well, what we need to understand is prayer changes us. You may actually still see the same traits, the same issues, the same mentality, the same personality in the person who you're having an issue with in the relationship. But forgiveness isn't designed to change that person. It's designed to change you. And what happens is, what it changes is your perception. It changes your worldview. It changes the way you see things. That's what forgiveness does. So if you think about forgiveness in the book, it mentions that not forgiving somebody is like picking up a hot coal, and then it's hot and burning your hand. You're injuring yourself, but you're picking it up with the intention of throwing it at the other person. What if you miss? But you picked up this hot coal and you're burning yourself trying to hurt someone else. So it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. That's what unforgiveness is like. It's killing you. Unforgiveness is negative vibes. It's negative energy. It's time, space, and energy that you are giving to another person that has probably gone on about their business and living their best lives. They ain't thinking about you. They have wreaked havoc. They have broken your heart. They have betrayed you. They have disrespected you. Whatever the case may be. They've done all of that and they have gone on about their lives and their business, and you are still holding on to that. So who is being affected by this broken relationship? You are. So the most important relationship that needs to be healed is the one with yourself. That's the very first relationship that needs to be worked on, is the relationship that you have with yourself. You have to be committed to healing your heart, your soul, your mind, clearing your chakras, getting all of that up and out of you. I used to hear the story. This is from Egyptology, and it talks about how when you go to the judgment, how your heart is placed on a scale with a feather, and how if your heart does not weigh in as light as the feather, you did not make it into the halls of whatever heaven is, for them. And that used to irritate me, because I'm like, the heart is a muscle. It is heavy. It's weighted. How is a heart ever going to weigh lighter than a freaking feather? Like I just used to be like, oh my God, really? But one day when I start doing this work, when I actually felt what it felt like to forgive someone and to release someone who had hurt me, who had betrayed me, and this is my perception, right? I perceived that they hurt me. I perceived that they betrayed me. I perceived that they abandoned the friendship. I perceived that, they weren't the best of friends. This is all me perceiving that. So, as I began to do the work on myself, that is when it lifted, that's when I understood what my heart weighing in as light as a feather is. Because with this particular individual, time and time again, I would forgive, and I would have these roundtable conversations. Okay, let's talk about it. Is there something I did wrong? Is there anything I did to hurt you? Or, why do we keep having this back and forth, in and out? Like, you go ghost on me and don't respond to my text messages. You don't return my phone calls. You're not acknowledging me on social media. Like, what's going on with our friendship? Oh, nothing, everything's fine, in person. And then, okay, hug and kisses and everything's good. Then the next encounter, we're at an event. You don't speak. You walk right past me. You're avoiding me. What in the world is going on? But you're not telling me if I did something wrong. And then finally, I just had to get to the point where I had to search my heart, and I know, like, I didn't do anything to the person, and they could never come up with anything that I've done. So I just chose myself in that situation. As much as I loved this person, right? As much as I want, and I saw brokenness and I saw a need for healing. Not only in her life, just relationships that she was having that were broken, that could be possibly causing her to behave this way, whatever the case may be. See, hurt people hurt people. We need to understand that. Hurt people hurt people. I had been hurt, but I didn't hurt people. I just kind of minded my business. I became a loner, but I didn't realize I was hurting people too, because there were people that actually loved me and saw the light in me and wanted more of me that I was refusing and wasn't giving to them because somebody else hurt me. I had become very untrusting. I had become very, I was filled with conflict and suspicion. And I was paralyzed in my relations with people because of the numerous times I had been hurt by others. I put up a barrier and a block to where I would avail myself to other people, but I wasn't letting anyone in. Who is that damaging? Me. Because I'm pouring out, but I'm not receiving anything. I'm not receiving love. I'm not receiving encouragement. I'm not receiving compassion. I'm not receiving intimacy because I've closed myself off from receiving that from others. Do you see that? This is what broken relationships do to us. So the first relationship that needs to be healed is the one with yourself. You have to value yourself. You have to do some assessments and determine which relationships are truly toxic and really taxing me, stressing me the out. Like I can't function. What relationships are doing that to you? You have to take responsibility for yourself and sever those ties so that you can be healthy. Clear that these toxic relationships are taking up space in your head, in your heart, in your soul. You're giving too much time thinking about it. They got to go. All right. So how do you do that? How do you do that? What do? You first forgive yourself. Because I know at some point you're asking yourself, well, how did I even let this person in? Or we start questioning our own sanity, our own, resolve. Like, what is wrong with me that I even allowed myself to get in that situation? Well, this is where the gratitude comes in. Look at the person when you first took up a relationship with them and the things that attracted you to them. What was it about them? Focus on those things and be grateful and thankful for them. So the assignment for day 15 asks you to pick a person and write down 10 things about this person or this relationship that you can be grateful and thankful for. If you have children with someone that you are no longer with, at the very least, and I say the most because children are a blessing, you are grateful and thankful for the beautiful lives that you've been given and blessed by that relationship. What about flowers that you received or jewelry or other gifts during that time in your relationship? A special place that you guys went to and enjoyed each other's company. Think about those things and write them down and be grateful and thankful for that. Start thinking about all the wonderful things that attracted you and led you to that relationship in the first place. And write them down. And don't focus on the bad stuff. Just only focus on what can I be grateful and thankful for about this person. And if you're hard pressed to come up with 10 things that you can be grateful and thankful for this person, that is definitely a relationship that you really do need to release. And you also just need to forgive yourself and allow healing within yourself pertaining to that relationship. If you can't find one good thing, this was a matter of bad judgment, possibly on your part. So you have to forgive yourself. Write down 10 things that you can be grateful and thankful for yourself. Heal thyself. That is the first relationship that needs to be healed. You have to be selfish. Create some non-negotiable time to meditate, to pray, and to just be alone with the Creator. So I'm going to stop talking for a second here since I do have Kirsten on live on Zoom, and I'm going to see if she has anything that she wants to talk about with regards to, she's shaking her head no. Okay, is any of this resonating at all? Okay, she's saying yes, it is resonating. So she doesn't want to say anything or add anything right now. Possibly she does have a lot of good points. So it's possible she will go on the post and maybe say some things later as it occurs to her. But what I want to share is I am living proof that we can magically heal relationships through gratitude. And I won't spend a whole lot of time going through all the gory details, but I will give you some different categories of how relationships were magically healed for me through gratitude. And this is even before I knew about this practice. So I'm already grateful and thankful that God gave me the mind to even do these steps. If I knew then what I know now, if I knew about this, it would probably even be an even greater result, or it would have happened a lot faster. But I think there was still some resistance on my part, even though I was doing these things. I don't think I was doing the inner work within myself. But I know now, so I can look back and say, oh, wow, that did work. So the first one I will say is my first marriage. We were young and things they didn't happen the way we thought they would. And, ultimately it had to end in divorce. Well, that was one of the most devastating and most difficult things I have ever had to undertake in my life, even to this day, because it was literally me breaking up my family. But as a mom, I felt in my heart that I was doing what was best, first of all, for me as a woman and for my children, as far as what I wanted them to grow up and see about how people relate to one another when they're married and when they love each other. I had my ideas about what marriage and what family should look like. And I did what I felt was best for them. Now, as far as holding any grudges, I believe that while I was ending the relationship, I believe psychologically I was already in the process of releasing and forgiving. So by the time I got out, I didn't have any hate or any malice or bitterness. But guess what? Because he really didn't see it coming. He thought that his behavior was okay. He wasn't listening to the warning signs. He didn't know that his relationship was coming to an end. When it did ultimately end, there was some bitterness and resentment on his part. So I had to learn how to magically heal that relationship. And what did I do? I held space for him. I allowed him his anger, his frustration. I allowed him to tell family members whatever it was he wanted to say about me and the cause and the demise of our relationship. I just let him have that space. I did not feel the need to, quote unquote, tell my story. And then over time, as our children began to get older, that's another thing. I didn't speak bad about him to our children. I made sure that if I said, you just like your daddy, it was about how creative they were. It was about how smart they were. It was about how they're genius, they're creative. Like, all the good things about him are the things that I would say to them regarding, you're just like your dad. I didn't feel like it was my place to dump my emotional baggage on my children. I wanted my children to grow up healthy, well-rounded, and be able to feel safe to love their mom and their dad, and not feel like they had to compete or choose one over the other. I just thank God for the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding to do that, because that's where it came from. I'm not going to tell you that, it wasn't hard, but it took everything in me, because my children were my focal point and wanting them to be healthy. They didn't need to get drugged through the mud with the pain and the hurt and the anger that I once had. They would figure out their relationship with their dad on their own as they become adults. And that's what happened. So that worked out. Everybody gets along. He remarried. I remarried. I love his wife. He loves my husband. The kids love the step parents. It turned out well. On another scenario, though, when I remarried, my husband's children got taken away from him and taken out of the state in contempt of court. Just a whole lot of horrible things, parental alienation and all of that. And so for years, now this is my soulmate, best friend, love of my life. twin flame, all that. I mean, when I tell you, wow, yin and yang, his birthday's January 28th, mine is January 29th. We both have a child born on June 8th. He was my best friend first. But getting married, you know, all the intimacy and all the love and the connection and the communication, like everything that we had, like honeymoon's over within the first couple years because, again, his children have been taken away. So that greatly impacted the dynamic of our relationship. Here he is, his kids have been taken, he's raising somebody else's kids, and he got a new wife who's looking to him for intimacy and affection and attention and confirmation and validation and girl stuff. And so I understood and respected and held space for what he was going through. But I guess after a certain time, you start putting time limits on things. Just like when people die, people want you to be like, well, get over it. It's been 10 years. Or get over it. It's been 15 years. You know, you can't put a time limit on somebody else's healing. But I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that that put a strain on. And it did. So what did I do? Gratitude. Every single day, I just thank God for sending my husband to me, for him being a provider, keeping our lawn so nice, buying me flowers, just all the wonderful things that he did. I also always remember the day that we first met, how we fell in love, how our courtship was, and I held on to that every single day. So through those dark and trying and traumatizing years, I just was grateful. And again, I didn't know anything about the magic. I knew I loved him. I knew I didn't make a mistake. And I knew that none of this was his fault. And he was not intentionally hurting me, but he was hurting. And that if I responded to that hurt from a place of hurt also, that our marriage could potentially have ended in divorce as well. So I didn't want that because I knew in good conscience when I said I do, I knew it would have challenges. I knew it was for better. It wasn't like the first time, being young and immature and not even knowing. We both well knew. So yeah, just holding space and being forgiving. But again, I'm simplifying this. I'm not going to tell you I did not have some difficult times and some heartache and frustration and bitterness and resentment and all that. I'm not going to tell you I didn't have any of that because I did. I absolutely did. But I didn't like feeling that way. I didn't want to feel that way. So I chose to channel that into a positive direction. And like I said, I just kept busy and I kept loving him. I kept doing the things that I would normally do for him as a wife. And I did not withhold anything from him or allow my resentment to reflect in the way that I treated him. And magically, the relationship healed. And guess what? Ultimately, his son was reunited with us. He lives with us right now. So we're still praying for restoration in the relationship with his daughter. But there's a lot of healing that has to take place in the family. So another relationship is a boss at work. Long story short, I didn't even know what hate was until this person. But I started applying the scriptures that say, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. If your enemy is hungry, give them something to drink. If they're thirsty, give them something to drink. If they're hungry, give them something to eat. I literally started doing that and applying those things. And magically, that relationship was restored. This woman ended up writing a letter of recommendation for me to get into the master's program at Avila University. And ultimately, that same letter was used in an interview as a recommendation letter for the job, the career that I have now. And I have been so blessed. So when it talks about God will make your enemies your footstool, all of that comes through forgiveness. All of that comes through releasing people who have offended you, releasing people who have hurt you, releasing people who have slandered you, releasing people who have mistreated you. And I want to leave you with this. If you have people who have wronged you and you're holding on to that anger and that bitterness and that contention and all those negative feelings that are balled up inside of you, when you're holding on to that, see, God said, vengeance is mine and I will repay. But you're doing vengeance. You're holding on to the hate. You're holding on to the bitterness. You telling God, I got this. So he's just sitting over there because he's not going to needlessly interfere in the affairs of man. So with all your bitterness, wrath, and contention, and holding on and hating them every single day and talking bad about them every day, putting your mouth on them every single day, rolling your eyes every single day, waking up thinking about them, having lunch thinking about them, going to bed thinking about them, negative thoughts, you are consumed. There's so many other wonderful things going on around you that you don't even see. You're missing out on blessings because you're holding on to this person and your anger and all of this. And you're also destroying potential relationships because you don't have space in your heart and in your life for anything else, because this is what you're identifying with the most. You're holding on to it so tight and won't let it go. So God is just waiting for you to release it. Release them. Once you do that, oh my God, it's like throwing the backpack off. The backpack or the hefty garbage bag that you've been carrying around all this time. Your back hurts, your neck hurts. You can't sleep at night. Just mad all the damn time. You don't have to be. Let it go. Forgive. That forgiveness is your freedom. That forgiveness is your release. They're still going to be the same messed up person unless they choose to do the work, unless they choose to seek forgiveness, unless they choose to forgive themselves. But that has nothing to do with you. So write your 10 list, your list of 10 things. Pick a person who is just stressing you TF out right now. Pick the person, pick the situation. If you got more than one person, do one at a time. Focus on the one that is the most stressful to you, the one that's causing you to lose sleep, the one that's preventing you from having relationships with others, healthy relationships with others. Pick that one. If it's a cluster of people, if it's family, put that all together and forgive them all as a unit. And then you can treat each individual accordingly. But what I want you to do more than anything else is release them so that God can take care of them. Then you gonna see God's vengeance. You gonna see his wrath, and you gonna actually feel sorry for them. Trust me when I tell you that. Because the people that I have held aught against, when I tell you, when I release them, now I understand what being light as a feather is like. I actually had mercy for them when I start seeing God make them accountable for the things that they had been doing, not just to me, but to others. 9 times out of 10, the people you got problems with, you ain't the only one that got their name on their list. That person's name is on somebody else's list too. The shit list. Okay? They on somebody else's list. If everybody releases them, you're going to see. But guess what? God got a problem with you. When you got anger, when you got frustration, malice, bitterness, he's looking at you like, you got it. So imagine God being a spirit, and he's got the children of obedience and the children of disobedience. And since God is a spirit, we're going to use infrared lighting for him to look down upon his creation. His children of disobedience, they vibrate red for anger, okay? The children of obedience, the children of light and love, vibrate blue or white, just beautiful color, blue, okay? When God looks down, he's looking for the children of obedience to bless, right? Well, if the children of disobedience have been wreaking havoc on the children of obedience, and now the children of obedience are harboring anger, wrath, bitterness, contention, negativity. What color do you think they're vibrating? Red. They look just like these people over here. He don't know the difference. Where my kids at? Where they at though? I'm looking down. All I'm seeing is red. These people are red naturally. They are the children of just disobedience. They are here to wreak havoc on everyone. But they're attacking God's children, the children of obedience. And they're making them like them. So now when he look down, all he sees is red. I'm just looking for a little bit of blue here and there. Does that make sense, guys? Are we vibrating in light and love? Are we emanating light and love? Or are we emanating wrath, bitterness, contention, unforgiveness, and all those negative things? Can God see us? Can he bless us if he can't see us? I hope that makes sense today. So, day 15, magically heal your relationships. Do the practice. It's hard work, but it must be done. If you would love to see your life turn around, if you would love to see the light of day once again, if you would love to wake up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated and alive and happy and free, do the practice. If you're listening to this and you have been in such toxic mentality and relationships and limiting beliefs and stinking thinking for so long, you may have gotten to the point where you are identifying with being a victim. You don't even know who you are without this other person to blame everything on in your life. You don't even know who you are. You've lost your authentic identity in your unforgiveness. So definitely need to consider that. Are you identifying with being a victim? Is hating this person the vein of your existence? Is this toxic relationship that you get to bitch and moan and groan and complain about your reason for living? And if that's the case, it goes back to the enemy is enemy. It goes back to the issue is you. It goes back to forgiveness having the ability to free you. Do you want to be free? Do you want to be set free? Why do you think the prisons are filled up? They're not just filled up with criminals and murderers for the sake of that. There's some people who had good hearts, good spirits that were just fed up, and they allowed their situational anger to get the best of them. And they end up pulling the trigger, or they end up stabbing somebody, or they end up doing some stuff they had no business doing from a situational moment in time. The other person's life is now snuffed out. You took God's vengeance in your hands. They don't even get to pay for the mistake they did. Yeah, burning in hell, but what that gonna do? Now you burning too. So let go, let God. It is not worth your happiness, your success, your future, your freedom to hold on to these bitter emotions and feelings. If it is a parent, if it is a sibling, if it is a classmate, I don't care who it is. Forgive them and get in right standing with yourself so that you can feel and experience the life that you deserve to live. The life that you're not going to be able to see your future looking at the past. And you're replaying the past over and over every single day. I cannot stress that enough. And if you're hanging around people that also don't like the person you don't like, and all y'all doing is sitting around talking about this person, you're in a loop and you're in a cycle. Your friends, your family, they're going to be upset with you for forgiving this person because this thing now has become the thing. That's what y'all have in common, is hating this other person or this situation. So that's your tribe now. But it's not positive and it's not producing anything for you. Nothing good is going to come from that. There are no seeds to be planted to blossom and bring forth a harvest from any of that. So you need to also consider removing yourself from a circle of influence and friends that is rooted and grounded in hate and negativity and in non-productive conversations and gossip and all of that. Free yourself. And it may be that you might be isolated and have an individual journey for a time, but by you healing and being restored and forgiving, you're going to attract more people who are like your true, authentic self before you allowed yourself to become this person who you were not meant to be. The person who is vibrating red like the children of disobedience. It's time for you to start vibrating blue again and be restored to your normal, authentic, spiritual, beautiful self the way you came here when you were born. So life is a journey. The journey is the destination. Okay. So it is what it is. The universe is our university, and it was not meant for you to camp out in these negative emotions. Yes, you feel them. Yes, you experience them. Embrace them, identify with them, and let them go. But don't hold on to them, because they will wreck your life. And ultimately, it's you who's wrecking your life, not the person who did the thing to you. It's you, because you're refusing to let it go. So thank you for joining me on day 15. I know I was long-winded, but I had a lot I wanted to cover and share with you guys on today. And I really do hope that something that I have said tonight unlocks something for you. I've hated before. I've not forgiven before. And I was freaking miserable. And even when it came to this practice on today, if I'm being completely honest with you, I can't even think of a single relationship that I really need to heal. I have forgiven. I can't think of anybody that I'm mad at right now. I have a person who I'm not happy with, but I don't hate her. I don't hate her. I forgive her. I don't understand why she's doing the things that she's doing, other than I know that she's hurting. Other than I know that she was handed a hand of cards that she's trying to deal with, and she ain't dealing with it too well. And it's impacting a life that is very, very precious and dear to me. But I'm going to continue to hold space for her. I'm going to continue to think about the 10 things that I can be grateful and thankful for her in my life. And I'm going to continue to hold out, because I know that it's going to work in our favor and in the favor of the person who I really care about, that is connected to her. It's going to work out for his favor, because all the people that I know that are involved in this situation, we're working on holding that space for her. We're working on forgiving her. And when we do that and she gets released to the wrath of God, we're going to have mercy and pity for her. I don't even wish what's going to happen upon her, but I can already see the writing on the wall. She's doing it to herself, though. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to give it any negative energy. I don't have to try to figure it out. So I'm going to let you guys go. Kirsten says she's at work, so she can't really speak, but she definitely is going to expound on this topic. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being on tonight. Forgive, be healed, do the practice, okay? Let the magic work for you. Gratitude covers everything. Bye-bye now.